All right, so thanks for being my first guest. Thanks for coming out, Spencer. Are you gonna want to talk a little bit about you served a mission, right? Where'd you serve? Peru. You both speak Spanish.
Yep, we both speak Spanish.
Do you speak Spanish to each other?
Sometimes.
We read Spanish every night in scriptures.
Really?
Yep.
That's cool. You both have your... Oh, I guess you don't need your hard copies.
Now we use hard copies sometimes.
Okay.
Most of the time we'll use our phone, though. Just right now we're in the Book of Mormon.
Is that the first thing you're reading? Or did you already read something else?
Just the Book of Mormon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so for people who don't know, you guys are engaged. You guys both serve missions in Spanish. Where'd you guys meet?
So we met... I actually knew her sisters last summer. They were in our singles ward. And I hung out with them quite a bit. And real good friends. Met her family. They all loved me. And they wanted me to marry their other daughter on a mission.
It is true.
So when she got off... her sister Audra invited me to come over and play some volleyball with them, with their family. And so we did, and we talked, and then she fell in love with me.
Kind
of. That's one side of the story.
Yeah.
How did it actually happen?
Well, it was pretty much like that. My first Sunday home, my dad poked into the bishop's office where he was talking to his bishop because he was the eldest quorum president, and I also peeked in. I was like, "Hi," like very awkward return missionary, like, "I don't know you, okay." And then after that, my sister was like, "Oh, we need to invite Spencer. You need to get to know him." I was like, "Oh, okay, sounds good." I don't even know this guy. And then we played volleyball, and then we just hung out a bunch, and then he asked me out. And
yeah, our first date was going to a wedding reception together. So she was my plus one.
Heck of a first date.
Yeah, so it was a good first date. But the cool thing is that we always kind of knew that we'd be together. Ever since like the first date, we knew that it was going to be something special. So it just kind of flowed really quick. And she went off to school shortly after that. And so we did a long distance relationship for a while, and then... ended up getting engaged before 4th of July.
I came home.
Yep.
That's cool, man. Yeah, congratulations, guys. Because you and I have known each other for 2 years, about 2.5 years.
Yeah, I would say 2.5 years.
Cool. Yeah, and it's been, I wouldn't say it's been a struggle, but I feel like you're kind of picky.
Yeah.
Very high standards, I think. But there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So
well, she definitely fits the bill and meets and actually exceeds expectations. So
there we go. Good save.
I'm learning that every day. So.
That's cool. All right, well, let's get down to the reason why we're here for the podcast, and it's about the missions. So you served in the Dominican Republic, La República Dominicana. How was that, man? How was getting used to the climate, to the culture, to, I guess, everything?
Yeah, I guess starting off, culture-wise, definitely hot. It's averages in the 80s year-round. Humidity is very high. My first area was on the ocean, so it was just very humid. But culture-wise, it is a shock. You go there and people are living in, tin roof houses, or they have like cardboard on the side of their house, and so it's really hard to see. But you kind of get used to it after a while, and you learn that the people really are happy with what they have. They don't really know much better. And so I love my time there. The people there are just amazing, really fun, and loving people.
Yeah, so I'm from a Hispanic culture as well. I don't know how different it is because I'm from Mexico, so I don't know how different it is from the Dominican Republic. But I had some friends that were like very, very dark. Like I'm pretty dark, but they were like black. So I don't know. Were there a lot of I guess light-skinned people over there? Were there?
Yeah, so there are pockets of people where there was more of a kind of a Spanish descent instead of from Africa, because it was kind of a mix of the both of them. And then where I served, it's closer to Haiti, and so you get a lot of that Haiti influence as well, which is very, very dark.
Right.
But yeah, there definitely are some lighter skinned ones, and they like to show it.
So there's different cultures where they emphasize on their skin color. So like in the American culture, people want to be tan because it's like they're active or they're doing stuff outside. There's other cultures where they're dark and they want to be lighter skinned. Mm-hmm. So how are they over there in the Dominican Republic?
Yeah, you would see a lot of women that would put on makeup to kind of make them look a little bit lighter skinned. But I think for the most part, they really loved who they were, and they just owned it. And so they like being dark, and they're proud of it. They're proud to be Dominican and of that heritage.
That's pretty cool, man. What kind of food you get?
Yeah. Well, like it's your typical rice and beans and chicken almost every day, and they'd throw eggs in there. They'd throw little breads, but for the most part, it was that. We had yuca, which is kind of like a potato. It's a root, and they didn't have a lot of salads and different things. It wasn't something they had, but tons of fruit. I mean, we would have people just give us fruit. We'd go to their house. We didn't even know the people. They asked us if we wanted some mangoes or
just randomly,
some limes, or some bananas.
Like while you were tracting and stuff.
Yeah, and we'd have random people just invite us in for dinner, and so we just, they had their religion that they liked, but they would still invite you in, give you some juice, and really awesome people.
And were they mostly Catholic? Mostly Catholic background?
Yeah, I would say there is quite a bit of evangelical in there as well. So I would say most people, I'd say 50% are Catholic, and then the other, like 25% are evangelical. A little bit of Jehovah's Witness are there as well.
Okay, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Yeah, so serving in those countries is really difficult because coming from the United States where there's really no need of anything and going to those countries, like I'm sure you had some like heartbreaking experiences. Like do you remember any of those? Do you know, like, did any of those come to mind?
Yeah, I remember this one lady, and it's just really sad. She had a young kid, no father. I don't know what happened, but he wasn't around, and she barely had enough food or barely enough money to eat, and so she would ask us for like just this little bit of rice, and it was just so sad because it was literally just this little sack of rice is all she asked for. She didn't ask for all this money or different, like a big meal. She just wanted just this little bit to get by. And that is something that happened quite a bit with people where they didn't have a lot. And money there it's an issue. There's a lot of poor people, and they always talk about money. They always want more money, more money, more money. If I had money, it would solve all my problems. And that's kind of their mentality. And
well, that's interesting because, like, I think a lot of people in the United States have that mentality as well.
Yeah.
Even though they have a lot more things, they're not really suffering for food like that. They still think, a nicer house or a nicer car, that'll make me happy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
Or to solve some one of my problems that I have. Yeah.
Exactly. That's super weird. Different cultures, but different needs.
Same
mentality. Yeah, that's crazy, man. I came back from, again, like I said, from a Mexican background. And I remember being like that as well, like eating rice and beans and things of the sort. I remember going to school and it was like, we would buy our lunch that day because like all you had was to buy for that day. Like you couldn't really plan for the week or for the weekend. You had to plan for that next coming day. So you buy your lunch, you buy your dinner that morning, and then you do the same thing over and over again.
That's actually the same in the Dominican. They have these little shops kind of on the corners, and they call them colmados. Mm-hmm. And there you would buy like your daily chicken, everything kind of like you said, just for that day.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, man.
But I mean, the people who live, in the bigger, like at the capital city or in these nicer areas, they go to stores, supermarket type things. But the people who I, live with and, was in those areas, it was very much day by day.
Right. Yeah. How was your guys' like, I guess for you missionaries, your financial situations? Because like with us in Vegas, we had $125 a month, which doesn't seem like much, but it was just enough to buy the necessities, and then the members took care of our meals, at least dinners. But everything else was up to us for our breakfast, for our lunch, and then for our personal hygiene. $125 a month.
Yeah, I think we had it was around $200.
Okay.
I'm not really sure how much because it was always in pesos.
Oh, okay.
Dominican pesos. But it seemed like we always had enough money to go around. We didn't really get fed very much by the members. It was kind of just you show up and they just feed you.
Oh.
But it was kind of rare for someone just to, like, we never had sign-ups or anything where people would feed you. It'd be mainly you go visit someone, they're like, hey, come back in 2 days and we'll feed you or something like that.
Dang, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always had those little sign-up sheets. I remember it was only once on my mission where it was completely full. And then the next day we got transferred out.
Yeah.
So
you're like, dang it.
Yeah, so we kind of missed out on that, but that's okay. How about your P days? How did those go?
P days were crazy.
What'd you guys do?
Yeah,
what could you do?
Well, we did a lot of like sports activities. It's really beautiful there, so we'd do lots of hikes and go to the mountains.
You guys swam, huh?
I never did swim, but I did go in a waterfall once.
Okay.
But in my defense, we went into a cave and we had bat poop all over us, so we had to get it off. But no, we did a lot of sports.
How did that come up with the bat poop?
Bat poop. Well, we're in this area. It's in the mountain region of the Dominican Republic, which actually was a nice area because it wasn't as hot, and I didn't need to use a fan for most of the time while I was there when I slept. Because usually at night you can't go to sleep unless you have a fan. It's just too hot.
Well,
yeah.
Because they don't have AC over there, do they?
No, and they have power maybe like a quarter or a half the time. And so if the power goes out, you're going to be up all night just sweating. And you can't really get out of your sheet because there's too many mosquitoes.
Oh.
So when the power goes out, you just know it's going to be a bad night. You just accept it and try to fall asleep. But anyways, about that area, all the members had this really cool spot where they like to take missionaries, and that was the spot where there are these pretty waterfalls. You go on this nice hike up. It takes half a day to get up there. And then, you just go through this little cave. It just fits right around your body. You go in, then it opens up, and you don't want to turn your flashlight on because you're going to see some scary looking bats looking down on you. So if those bats would have gotten angry, they would have tried to get out that same hole and that would have just been really scary.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've encountered bats like that before. Being in Vegas, we don't really, we see coyotes and stuff.
Yeah.
But not really bats.
Yeah, there were bats all the time. Like we'd be walking at night and they just swoop right over your head, and it was just kind of a normal thing. They just eat all the mosquitoes and all the bugs.
Oh, that's good.
They thrive out there.
For sure.
There's tons of food for them.
What other kinds of animals are out there?
There's actually not a lot. You'll see a lot of birds, but not the birds like exotic type birds. There's lots of pigeons.
Oh.
Yeah. Lots of dogs, lots of ugly looking dogs
like
that
homeless
are
dogs.
malnutrition, and there's no big predators or anything, so you can go in the mountains. You don't have to worry about something getting you. There's snakes, lots of tarantulas. I remember waking up one day and we had mosquito nets in this one area, and I wake up and there's a tarantula just sitting right over my head, just on top of the mosquito net. Just looking down on me. So it was kind of freaky. But yeah, tons of spiders. Tons of bugs, tons of cockroaches.
That does not sound fun, man.
Yeah. Shelby saw some of the pictures of me
A
and
few of them.
like trying to just faking eating cockroaches
It's
and
disgusting.
tons of rats and mice. I have tons of pictures of me killing them and
Eating them.
eating them. We didn't really eat them, but
Yeah, it's interesting that how, I guess cultures like that are poor have those kind of animals all the time, rats and roaches and things of the sort. Because in Mexico, we had a lot of rats, a lot of roaches, a lot of ants, just everywhere.
yeah, there were tons of ants.
It's so weird. I don't know if it's because of the climate or just because it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I assume. I mean, the hotter. Well, I guess
Because like New York has a lot of
it's
rats.
not really hot in New York most of
cold.
the year. Yeah,
But I mean, like the sewers, that's where they mostly thrive.
that's true. Yeah,
So, I
and they
don't-
just come up and get extra food
Just
or whatever
millions
they
of
want.
them. Yeah. So gross. Have you been to New York?
Uh-uh.
Have you been?
No.
Been to Chicago a few times, but Chicago's really clean.
Is it?
Mhm.
Because all the wind. Just
Yeah,
blows
the
everything
Windy
away.
City, yeah. No, Chicago's really nice.
I went to, or Nicole and I went to Louisiana last year, to New Orleans.
Mhm.
New Orleans. I don't know how they say it.
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Yeah. I got in trouble the other day for saying New Orleans. But it's kind of a dirty city, man. There's like
smells
garbage
too,
everywhere.
It smells like urine and
yeah. So I went down Bourbon Street,
Mhm.
which is like it's super famous. That's where all the bars are and stuff. But Nicole was doing her work conference, so I was just kind of roaming the city. And this lady on the plane told us, "Don't go out at night. Like, if you do go out at night, stay in the lit areas." She's like, I'm from there, so just warning you." It's like, whoa. So I went broad daylight, just walking down Bourbon Street. And yeah, man, there's just garbage everywhere. The sidewalks are all cracked. Nothing is worked on. There's people drinking in the middle of the day. It smells like trash. It smells like urine. It's just like, man, once you get out like into the city, it's still kind of like, I guess because of the flood, it was a lot of work to be done.
yeah.
But it's kind of just going downhill. Like, I definitely wouldn't want to live there.
There's lots of cities like that. It's really unfortunate, especially cities with such rich culture and they're so old. I mean, I was just in South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina in May, and that's just a beautiful city, and it's one of the oldest cities in the United States, and they keep it really nice. So I don't know if it's just the culture of where those people live, or maybe just the amount of effort they put into keeping it clean.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Boise's pretty clean. I was living in Salt Lake for a while, for a long time, but I think Boise's a little cleaner than Salt Lake. Have you lived in Boise your whole life?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Have you lived
Yeah.
in Boise? Okay.
I did a stint in Memphis, Tennessee, and that was actually pretty nice.
That's cool. Yeah, I haven't really visited a lot of places. We went to Texas, and then we went to Vegas, just to visit our missions. But Vegas is just such a big city, man. Like, it takes forever to get from place to place. And I always tell people it's funny because when they think Vegas, they just think the Strip.
Yeah, it's so much bigger than
Yeah.
that.
Have you been to Vegas?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
A few times.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah,
There's
just
lots
from
to do there too, even outside the Strip. Yeah.
yeah. So like we never went on the Strip on my mission. That was actually out of everybody's area. I don't think the Strip actually exists in the mission maps.
I don't.
I doubt it.
I would
So
assume.
it's pretty it's pretty weird. But yeah, we never went on there, and there's lots of things to do, lots of stores and lots of there was a flea market. They just sold a bunch of weird things. Those were pretty fun. But a lot of times we just did kind of like just sports, like you said. We didn't do a lot of hiking. We should have.
It's pretty hot there, right?
Yeah.
Even year round, is it? Or is it really nice during the winter?
No, it actually gets pretty cold. I got there in December. I was assigned to bike, and then we were gonna go on our first assignment because I got there at night because it takes forever. It takes all day. But then when we went back out, when we went back to our apartment, we kind of settled down for the night. And then the next morning, when we were ready to go, my companion's like, "Do you have a coat?" I'm like, "No, it's Vegas. Like, it's fine." He's like, let me I guess, let you borrow my jacket, my vest. And I was like, I'll be fine, man. It's like, no, trust me. This is December. Like, I think it was like December 10th or something, December 11th. So we went out on bike and it was freezing, man. Like, I did not expect it. Cause,
well,
like,
especially getting like the wind, coming at you.
yeah, but like,
and...
that's not what I expected at all. Like, even if it was winter, I was like, okay, it'll probably be like 60 degrees or something. So I didn't pack any warm clothes because the missionary packet said, you're going to Vegas, pack for warm weather, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, cool. Yeah, I would get down to about 30 degrees, especially at night because it's desert, so it gets cold at night anyway. But like February time where it's like 8 hours of sunlight, it gets really cold, man. So we had to bike with with one hand or with no hands, like just in our pockets. Cause it was cold, but no mosquitoes.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That was nice.
Yeah. Did you have you had a lot of mosquitoes, huh?
Just in my last area. Most of my mission was pretty cold. It was like southern Peru, so I always wore a jacket and everything.
Interesting.
Tights. But in my last area, it was a little hotter. Mosquito bites all over my legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
She still has them.
Yeah.
It's been like, what, 4 months since you've been back?
A little bit over. Almost 5.
Almost 5.
5 months and already engaged, huh?
Crazy. He picked me right up.
Yeah.
Didn't waste any time.
And she didn't want to. She was always telling people, like, I'm not going to be that missionary that comes back and gets engaged. Yeah.
I didn't want
Then here
to
I come. And
Did either of you guys
over.
have somebody waiting for you?
No.
Okay. That's always heartbreaking.
Not even close.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know, man. The missions are crazy. There's a lot of crazy people out there. Any scary experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I was in shootings. I was in 4 shootings, and
What?
yeah, like I remember we were riding our families one time, and all of a sudden you just hear this bullet comes right through the glass in our internet center, and everyone's like getting on the ground, freaking out. And then there's another case where we're just walking down the road, and all of a sudden these guys start running towards us and past us, and then the police are following them. They start shooting down the alleyway that we're in. And so we're trying to get as close as we can to the wall. And like, I tried to like kick down this door so I could like get in this door. And yeah, it's scary.
Man, like, what are you thinking of that during that time?
The only thing I was thinking of was like, get inside or something. Like, so I was legitimately like kicking in a door, and it wasn't getting kicked in. But by the time it all happened, it went really fast. And then they like kind of ran by us, but it was,
They didn't even care, man.
no, they don't really care. And then I was in lots of tropical storms and hurricanes, and
You guys have to find shelter and stuff?
yeah, they weren't actually too bad, like where we were. One of them, the first one I was in was a hurricane, and I was pretty close to the water. But we were on the other side of the island where it wasn't as bad. But yeah, I mean, I remember there's this guy who was a member of our church, and his leg was jacked up from a motorcycle accident years before, so he could barely walk. And so we had to trudge through this water up to our waists just to get to him and make sure that him and his little boys were okay. And he was, but I mean, yeah, it's scary. I mean, we did a lot of service with all those storms. People's houses fall down, or things happen to their property, and so we just kind of help out as much as we can. But it was good just to be with the people and like mourn with them, because they lost a lot of things, but they always rebuild, and I just love their resilience.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's so tough, because it's like you live in this poor country and you barely have anything, and then it's knocked out. It's gone. And it's like you have to rebuild again. And then it happens again. Like,
yeah, and some of these people, they just kind of like just repeats. Because I showed Shelby some pictures the other day where there's this town, right, or like this group of houses right there on the river. Hurricane comes, all the water comes down and just sweeps all the houses away. I mean, it was probably like 50 to 100 homes were just gone within
minutes.
Yeah, I mean, and then they just keep building right there. It's amazing how people do that. Or like if they're close to a volcano, you know it's going to blow up or you're going to have some lava come out. Like people in Hawaii, but the thing is there's not a lot of space. And so they just keep taking their chances
So how big is the Dominican Republic? Like, because it's an island.
Yeah, it's actually not really too big. And it's split basically in half between Haiti and the Dominican.
Right.
I would say it's like all of southern Idaho.
Okay.
I mean, it takes 3 hours to get from one side to the other side in a bus.
Okay. So it's not too bad. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
like,
so it's really not too big. There's a lot of people.
How many areas do you guys have over there?
There were quite a few. I think in terms of zones that we had usually between 7 and 8 zones.
Mm-hmm.
It switched with the new mission president. They kind of split some and moved some around, but yeah. And there were about 180 missionaries.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had 250 in our mission.
There was a lot of work there, and the cool thing was it's a lot different from missions, let's say in the States or in Europe or these other places that the work isn't so hot there. But we had to actually get rid of people to teach because we would basically go down a road and we could fill up our schedule just on that one road. Because people love to talk about the gospel. They like to talk about their church, their beliefs. And so we really had to pick and choose who we thought had the most potential. And so we would we would rather teach like families than little kids, or if it's just a girl, because there's lots of issues with teaching young girls because they're like, ooh, these like missionaries. Yeah, that's right. And so we try to avoid teaching them. And our mission president actually made a lot of rules regarding how many times they had to attend church before they got baptized. And they had to have certain amount of members that would befriend them before they could get baptized.
Wow, that's a new one.
Mm-hmm. Just because, the girls there are really flirty and they might see that as a way to get out of their situation and go to the States if they can, start to date or marry at least one of the American missionaries.
Yeah, so how was that split up between the missionaries? Like, were there a lot of Americans and a lot of natives, or just kind of...
Yeah, I would say it was a 50-50
split.
So it was starting to get a lot of Dominican missionaries, and we had quite a few other missionaries from Costa Rica. There was a couple from Panama, El Salvador. I had a companion from Mexico. And so we had quite a bit different. But yeah, it was about 50-50. And I assume it's getting more on the Dominican side.
Now? Mm-hmm. A few years later?
Yeah, I think just it's becoming stronger there. And I've kind of seen that trend. And I've heard that it's being done is that they're wanting people that are native to stay in their own countries to teach their own people the gospel. And of course, they're going to go to a different, part of the country than where they're from, but they like to keep people. Like a lot of the Brazilian work now is done by Brazilians because there's like over 1 million people in Brazil that are members. So, I mean, they have a lot of numbers and they're strong in the gospel and knowledge. And yeah, so I loved having a good split between Americans. The guys I trained were Americans, but most of my other companions were either Dominican or, Hispanic.
Okay. Best ones, man.
That's right.
Yeah, how many companions do you have?
I had... Gotta count. It's been a while. I've been back for like 10 years.
Can you name them all?
Yeah, so I was my trainer was Elder Macy, and then I went to Elder Gonzalez, who was my Mexican companion. And then I went with Elder Russell, Elder Thomas, Elder Simmons, and then I was with Elder Vasquez, Elder Folsom. Man, I'm already up to 8. And then I had Elder Jimenez and Elder Barnhurst. So I had 10 companions, excluding the MTC companions.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you keep in touch with any of them?
Not a lot. I mean, you kind of like, you like
yeah.
their pictures on Facebook or like write little messages. But there's one Dominican, my last companion. I talk to him quite a bit still.
Cool. Yeah, I feel like I need to get better about that.
Facebook does wonders. I mean,
yeah,
you really
for
get to
sure.
stick with them and see how they're doing.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll get some of them on here.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Well, once you find one, then you kind of find more and more.
Right.
At least if they were baptized members or companions, then you just kind of. They usually have all the same mutual friends.
Right. Yeah, because of the mission. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have companions that say like that we have over 100 mutual friends.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa,
that's a lot.
How? But yeah, it's great, man. Yeah, I couldn't imagine because I served a pretty comfortable mission being in the States. I came from a poorer background, but I kind of have been raised in a better, nicer environment. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I first got there, like the first week, I was like, man, how am I gonna go through this for 2 years? Like, it seems almost impossible. But at the same time, I was like, I know so many people have finished their missions, including my brother-in-law. I was like, I can do it, but it's just it seems so difficult. Like,
well, it's eye-opening.
Yeah.
You get there and you're like, I don't know what I'm signed up for, you know. That's how I felt. I mean, it was definitely.
Were you 19 when you went?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah.
I did a year of college and then I.
So it to most people, I think that aren't members don't know how young we were or are when we go on our missions. Because I had people that thought we were like 24, 25, 26. Yeah. It's like, no, I'm 19. Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, it's weird looking at missionaries now. They just look so young. Because I'm 31 now, and so I look back at it, and they're just still kids.
Yeah, they're babies. And like time goes by so fast because I've been home for about 5 years. I'm going on 5 years.
Wow. Yeah.
That's insane. I just thought about that. But going on 5 years and I'm looking at these kids and it's like, dang, I'm 8 years older than them. Like, I was being baptized when they were born.
Yeah.
And it goes by so fast that I don't see that yet. I still feel like I'm only a year or two older than they are. But it's like, man, no.
Yeah.
Before I know it, I'll be 31.
But the cool thing is that the Spirit just works so well with them. And it's perfect. Like, they have this great energy and enthusiasm,
right,
that maybe I wouldn't have as a 31-year-old. I would, you know, and they haven't finished school. At least most of them haven't finished school or had like a big job. And so I can really see why it's so important that they leave early,
right,
because they provide so much energy and love for the Lord, and they have nothing to hold them back. They just give everything.
Yeah, they're at their prime. I've been watching a lot of like UFC and a lot of sports stuff,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of these guys are so young. A lot of them in their prime, they're 23, 24. A lot of the Olympic athletes are in their teens.
Yeah, like
16, 17, 18. I don't think the gospel is any different. I think that being at that age, 18, 19, 20, that they're still at their prime.
They can do so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I look back and there's like, I don't know how I even taught some of these people, because you're taught your whole life, don't talk to strangers.
Yeah, and then
you go out door to door,
go in their houses.
That's all you talk to.
And there's some sketch houses.
Yep. Yeah, I had a he wasn't a companion, but he was in our district. I'm gonna save his name just because it's kind of embarrassing. So, but he would tell us the story of a time they knocked on this guy's door, and he opened the garage, and he's like, "Hey, like my door's kind of jammed. Like come through the garage door."
That's so sketch.
So they went in there and they like look over to his front door, and it's like all barricaded. like just couches and like stuff on the door so they wouldn't open it, and so he just closed it, and so he's just like, like where are we at?
Oh.
So yeah, it was pretty sketchy, man. I don't think I had any things like that, any experiences like that. We were close to the strip in one area, so the closer to the strip, the more kind of ghetto it gets,
Mm-hmm.
and the sketchier it gets. Once you go out into the mountains, out and past the strip, it gets really nice. Well, no, I served in one nice area, but yeah, man, it's kind of sketchy. But luckily, everybody's like, "Oh, you guys are people of God. You guys are good. Like, we're not gonna do anything." It's just like, whew.
And you really are protected. Like,
Yeah.
I really believe that.
Yeah,
Like, I wouldn't take Shelby to a lot of the places where I was,
right.
especially not being missionaries.
Especially at night.
Oh yeah.
Well, you had a couple scary
Yeah,
things, didn't you?
A few times. There was a lot of
Like lots of kind of creeper guys
a
like
lot of
following
drunk
you.
people
And...
following us all the time, and we would just run into these little shops, and the people there were like,
Right.
"Oh, the missionaries are here. We can protect them." And then they would like see if the coast was clear. Like, "Okay, you can leave. Run home." I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because like I feel like as elders, we didn't really have that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody's really looking at us.
Yeah.
No creepy old men are looking at us. But I mean, I feel like we are at a physical advantage if anything were to happen. But I don't know, that'd be scary.
Yeah, and I was with a few companions that were also from the States. We were both very, very white.
Mhm.
Obviously, we stood out a lot. We would get catcalled all the time.
Yeah.
And you just ignore it and just keep walking. Walk as fast as
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
unfortunate that happens.
Yeah, but any culture that has negative people, that'll happen. Yeah, because you guys are pretty tall. How tall are you?
We're 5'10".
We're both
of us.
5'10".
Both 5'10".
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, so
She looks taller than I do.
Not really.
She's got the long legs.
I think you're just stocky.
That's right. I prefer huge, massively
Oh my god.
muscly.
That's pushing it, man.
I know.
Yeah, that's some scary stuff, man. I don't like. We were in pretty good side of town, even the west side of Vegas. The east side was a little bit more run down, but the west side was nice. And then they kind of kept all the sisters in nicer areas, which and it was most of the mission. So even in a town that I served in called Pahrump, that was a little run down, but it was still a decent area. Like you weren't gonna run into any trouble over there. Just middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I felt that the areas that I was in, they were more out. We call it in El Campo, and it's just basically like you're just out in the countryside.
Right.
There wasn't as much delinquency with kids, and these little punk guys, and so I felt really safe in those areas. And even when I was in more like kind of the capital city, I still never really felt unsafe. Just walking.
Besides when you were getting shot at.
Yeah, those things. At least those weren't directed towards me.
Okay.
But yeah, I actually felt really comfortable, and I felt, people don't really want to mess with you when they're very superstitious, and most people believe in God, and so they don't want to mess with people who are missionaries or of,
because they're very superstitious.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because they think, well, if we do something wrong to these people of God, God will do something to us.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's a Hispanic thing because I'm not gonna say I'm really superstitious, but I do have some superstitious beliefs.
Yeah.
I think it's just how I was raised. It's like whatever, man.
Yeah, but yeah, there. Most people were always really nice. You get the little punk guys that say stuff to you every once in a while, or the little kids that make fun of you.
They try to make you pronounce things in Spanish.
Yeah. Or they'll say bad words in English.
Oh,
Just to kind of
mess with you.
mess with you. Yeah, and I remember one of my companions, he couldn't take it anymore. They were talking about his mom and stuff they were going to do to the mom. And so he took off running after these kids. And so they were running around in circles and circles and circles. And then finally I just stepped in front of one of the kids and shoved him. Because I was like, I got to stop it. So I shoved one of these kids into the side of a house. And they're like, why did you do that? I'm like, because you're messing with my friend. Like, just like leave us alone. And then their mom came out at that time, and she just like ripped into her kid.
Oh,
because she saw like the whole thing, and so yeah, she was asking us exactly what happened. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna take care of him. Don't you worry." It's like that. My son will never do this again.
Are moms over there kind of like Mexican moms, where they're very
yeah.
like they get the chancla or they get the belts?
Oh yeah,
they get the branch. Do they get the branch over
they're,
there?
They're kind of a violent people. Like,
Yeah.
they hit, they slap.
Yeah, my mom never slapped us, but she did hit us quite a few times.
There's a lot of domestic violence as well. Like, I remember we were in a house and I was on an exchange. It was my house, but I had one of our zone leaders was over with me, and the people above us just started fighting, and you could hear them like screaming and then start to hit. And then luckily one of the neighbors like said something, but the guy I was with was almost in tears. Like, hearing that.
Yeah.
And so that happened quite a bit. There's a lot of domestic violence, which is really sad. I think a lot of it has to do with alcohol.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys there just get drunk. I mean, alcohol plays a huge part in their lives there. They just sit on the corners. They have these corner stores, and they just sit there and drink. And they don't really have bars, right?
Right.
So everything's just outside, and they just drink until
they pass out.
And that's sad because they don't have a lot of money, but they'll spend it on. They won't buy rice for their kids, but they'll go out and drink their Presidente, which is their beer. You know, it's pretty sad.
Yeah, that's definitely a culture that is learned, because Mexico's like that a lot of the places as well, where it's just they don't really care for anybody else. They just want to drink. It's kind of sad. Stay away from
and
it.
I wonder if it's either like they want to have fun, you know, and that's why they drink, or if it's they want to get away from their problems and drink. And I don't know what the answer is to that, but either of them. I mean, it's just there's better things to do.
Yeah.
With your time and money. You know?
I remember we went to visit this family we were teaching, and they were drinking, they were partying, and this guy is sitting down, and he's like, "Do you guys believe in the Virgin Mary?" Like, what do you mean? Do you believe in her? Like, do we know she exists? Do we worship her? Like, what do you mean? Do you believe in the Virgin Mary? It's like,
You're like, all right,
this is not going anywhere, man. But it's like, man, alcohol, I don't know, man, it just messes with you. Like, people take it. And my boss said something very interesting, that she's like, you drink when you're sad and you drink when you're happy. It's like people just choose to drink just because. And it is kind of sad, because like you can do so many other things besides just drinking and socializing, and people do it as a social thing, but I don't know, it's weird. I guess just not being raised with it looks kind of weird.
Yeah, and I don't know, like I get, you know, everyone knows that I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I get made fun of. I don't really get made fun of, but they kind of push my buttons, you know. They're like, "Oh, we got to go drinking," and you know, we're like, "I want you to try this." And one of the ladies her daughter owns a brewery around town, and so they're always talking about drinking, and they're always trying to get me. And I just say, like, it's just not appealing to me. Like, I don't want to. My dad is a convert to our church, and you know, he dealt with alcoholism, and you just once you take one drink, I mean, that could be the start of something really, really bad. And I understand people can do it for social reasons, you know, every once in a while, and that might not hurt you, right? It might not have an effect on you. But I think it's just, why play with fire? And I don't need a substance to make me feel good or better or to have fun. And, you know, I just like look at Shelby, and like, that's all I really need. Like, she's my support. If I'm sad, like, that's who I go to. If I'm happy, like, that's who I go to. we do lots of fun activities, and I just don't need that in my life. And I remember, just not too long ago, when you open up my web browser, it's like all the news kind of comes up at work. And I clicked on this one. It said 40 celebrities who do not drink, 40 men who do not drink that are celebrities. And, there's like these really respectable people that like just don't drink. And so a lot of them had drinking before and they decided not to because they wanted to be sober. They said it's not worth it. I had alcoholism, or I just don't want to be under the influence of a different substance. And so I thought that was really cool, that there's a lot of people who don't drink, and those are real good examples to me.
Yeah, and it's so weird how like frowned upon it is now to not drink.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll mention, I don't drink any alcohol. Oh, what? That's weird. Like, why not?
I think we're weird. Yeah.
So how do you have fun? It's like,
I hate that. It's just like, I don't need it to be fun. Like I have fun by myself.
Right. Yeah, there's so many other things we can do. The thing that I don't understand is people drink and they don't remember. They don't remember what they did, and they're like, "Oh, I remember that I had a good time." It's like, well, what'd you do?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but to all their own, right?
Yeah, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. Yeah. I just choose not to because I don't really want to.
Yeah. I guess it's just kind of the effect that we've seen that it has in society, what it can do. So it's kind of dangerous. But
we should make shirts that say like sobriety rocks or something.
Do it.
Yeah.
Swear it around all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's so weird because like even I was looking through a list the other day of like 10 or 20 things that you should do before you die or something, and one of them was to go drink in Oktoberfest. So I was like, I can skip that one.
You want to go, shall we?
I'm good, actually. Thanks for the offer.
Oh, by the way, if you guys want something to drink, there's a little mini fridge back there. If you guys are thirsty. Speaking of,
ooh, I see those Twinkies too.
You can have one.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of drinking,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. It's so pointless to kind of talk to people who are in that state. It's just they're not there, and if they are, they're not probably not going to remember what you guys talked about. So it's very difficult to even talk to them, let alone teach them what you're trying to share. What's personal to you? They don't care.
Yeah. Well, I had an experience around Christmas time. We had a work Christmas party. We went to a hockey game, and this guy just got completely wasted. He's 25. He just turned 25, but like I was just waiting to see if he would need a ride home, like if someone could take him, and no one ended up being able to take him, and he lived all the way out, like in Caldwell. So I mean, it was pretty far out there from Boise. So I ended up taking him home, and just on the way home, he was just telling me how much he wanted to change his life. Right, he didn't want to drink anymore, and he was saying that he doesn't usually get drunk like this, and all right, whatever. But it really kind of made me feel good because he said, like, I want to be like you. I want to be happy, and you seem so happy, and so I talked to him a little bit about kind of like why I believe what I believe, and I don't know how much he got out of that since he was under the influence. He remembered a little bit, like when we talked, like the next week after the party. But I thought it was cool. I mean, people really do respect those who kind of have more of a control and they don't let those things influence them.
Yeah, which is funny because people think, oh, well, you guys don't have fun because you don't drink, but at the same time they're like, oh, but we respect you for not doing it.
Yeah, I was like, I wish I was like you. I wish I didn't do it. Yes. You hear that a lot.
Yeah, they make fun of us, but they want to be like us.
Yeah,
that's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know.
I had a cool experience on my mission. We were teaching. Well, I guess this guy, he just came up to the church.
That's better.
After church one Sunday, he's like, "I want to learn. I want to be like you guys." I'm like, "Okay, like let's see where this goes." And then turns out he has a drinking problem, and then we just kept teaching him like, "Hey, you shouldn't drink." Like, set some goals, and he set some goals, and he stopped drinking, and he got baptized after about 6 weeks of knowing him.
Wow.
Like, people's lives really can change if they put their minds to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think that's really cool to see how much he changed during that process of not drinking anymore. And yeah.
That's cool. My dad is kind of has a similar experience with that. This isn't like in the hippie age. This is in the 70s, right? Like early 60s, 70s. And his birthday, like the night before he met the sister missionaries, he was drinking because it was his birthday, right? So he's all hungover. And they knock on his door, and he just tells them to come back the next day. And usually when the sister missionaries hear that, they're like, all right, he's not interested, whatever. But they did come back, and my dad was interested. And I think, interested. And he wanted to change his life. And they taught him, you can't drink alcohol, right? You can't have coffee and all these things. You can't smoke anymore. And from that day, he got rid of all those things, never to touch them again. And so, like what Shelby was saying, like people, when they put their minds to it and they really want to change, they can. And I think, in a gospel sense, it's, God helps us, and the Spirit helps us to make good decisions, and it can strengthen us. And if we do fail, we have the opportunity to repent, to change, and to get better, and to become more like God and Jesus Christ. And that's kind of like our whole goal. And I just think that's so cool how people can change and come to Christ.
Yeah, I mean that's what we teach for 2 years, for a year and a half for sisters, is to repent, that things can change, and like just because you do these things doesn't mean you're a bad person. People make bad decisions, people make good decisions. It just depends on what stage of your life you're in. If you want to change, that's great. Most people, I think all people want to be good. But if we're making poor decisions, it's kind of difficult to do that. But yeah, I mean, that's what we teach, is that anybody and everybody can be good. They just, like you guys are saying, they need to put their heart in it. They need to take action and actually do something about it instead of just wishing it.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes like a big event to help them realize that. And other times it's just like kind of a continuous thing where they're just like, I just need to be a little bit better and better. And eventually they do. They become real good people.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a Hermano Vicente in Vegas. If he listens to this, I hope he gets a crack out of it. But he was a Jehovah's Witness, and it's super sad because he said he would tell us that when he was a kid, he would look at, because they don't celebrate holidays, they don't celebrate them like we do, but he would look out the window during Christmas and he would see all the little kids playing. And they didn't have any lights. They didn't have any presents. It's just like, dang, man, that's so sad. But he was hardcore Jehovah's Witness. But the sister missionary started teaching him, and he was like, okay, like I think he might have to like retell the story because I don't know if I'm saying it right. But he was kind of hard-headed. But they ended up kind of teaching him very well, and they told him that he's not supposed to drink, so he's like, okay, cool. A few weeks later, he buys his 24-pack of beer, and that same day, the sisters came over, and they're like, what is this? He's just like, just kind of have it, kind of just whatever. And so they took every single one of those bottles, and they threw them down the drain, and he just watched. He's just like, okay. No. But like, he didn't stop him, and then from that moment on, he stopped. Just like, whoa, man. So it was kind of, I mean, I personally wouldn't have done that, but man, like props to them. Kudos to them.
Very eye-opening.
Yeah, that's sisters got something special about them when they can do that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Well, we're almost at an hour. What do you guys think?
I think we're pretty good.
Yeah, I think we had some real cool discussions.
Yeah. So, you guys feel like we can do this again sometime?
I think it'd be fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Lots of different topics to talk about, and
for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
A lot of experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Just keep in mind some things, or just dig through your journals, because there's some experiences that people don't really hear. Like there's a lot of, I'm pretty sure I've told most people my experiences, but there's a lot of people that haven't heard them. Same thing with everybody else. Like I'm sure you have a lot of experiences that we need to hear.
Oh yeah.
Funny, sad, scary.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you kind of want to censor some of the things that you like are talking with certain people. You don't want to tell them everything that happened.
Right.
Like my mom, right? She doesn't want to know that I was, shot at and like all these things, and
Yeah.
like people throwing rocks at you and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Did that happen to you?
Yeah, it happened to me. I got like big rocks. Like
Ugh.
it was like we were getting stoned.
Did you get hit?
Yeah.
Ouch, man.
Yeah. It was not fun.
Isn't your guys' mission is just walking, huh?
Yeah.
No bikes, no cars. Dang.
All the areas are very small, so it's very walkable. And if
Yeah.
you have to go somewhere, you just get on a bus and
Right.
go. Yeah, their buses are pretty good.
Yeah, we had it easy, man. Cars and bikes.
You just walked,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I
Shane?
just walked everywhere.
Yeah. Up the mountains of
Oh, yeah.
Cusco and
Peru.
Yeah.
Peru. Yeah.
A lot of llamas over there.
Oh, yeah, kind of. Probably more in other areas, but yeah, there's quite a few.
Yeah, we'll have
More
to talk
than here.
about those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, well, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me for my first episode.
Yeah, I appreciate you having us on.
For sure. I'll have some more people on. I'm gonna post it on Facebook, and you can post it on your wall if you want.
Yeah, for sure. Fun.
Do you have an Instagram or anything that people can check you out at
Yeah, mine's spud.anderson.
for your Instagram?
Yep.
Do you have one?
Yeah, it's, what is it? I don't know. I haven't been on it in a while. It's Shelby Perry 30.
That rhymes.
Shelby Perry 30. There we go.
Cool. Anything else that you guys like to be followed on?
No, I think Instagram's kind of like the big thing
Yeah.
right now.
That's
Okay.
all I really have.
Are you still editing videos?
I do a little bit. I've been a little occupied over the last while with
Couple
this girl,
months.
but yeah. Yeah, I don't do as many, I don't take as many pictures, do as many videos, but I definitely want to get done with it. I'm in grad school right now as well, so
Okay.
I think when I'm done with that, we'll probably do a lot of fun things together.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we will catch you next time.